Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It is the 20th February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendants, antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in the court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning! This guy looks like he'd got no sleep at all. His eyes are so red. Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, and as they say here in Britain... Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance and I'm too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruto, I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just a coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Mr. Sato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until that day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? I mean, I guess with no TVs, people just walk up to the courtroom just to spectate. The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that an appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they all are speculating various answers. Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I mean no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the Reaper of the infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there is another blatant similarity with this trial of the 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire, it's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can't only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with him, with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruto, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such a frail fortune? But at least, luckily, you're alive. Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience, skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight for your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, beloved locum student, Mr. Naruto, Esquire. You're not alone here. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be by your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mokutoba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in the British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you always believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready to fight. Ooh, time to finally get into the court and see how this goes. I don't know if we might have another investigation afterwards. That'll be something different instead. 20th February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Ooh, I didn't see the jury. Are they the same people or are they different? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready, fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Dude, do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Sato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true, and most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. Oh yeah, it's different people. Oh, I see a familiar face in the jury, though. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You know, you never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed. Why is she in there? This is complete bias already. You should have no relations to this case. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt she did it anyways. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statements, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended their foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably the kindness has not been returned. In fact, the student is accused of the most sinister act. Plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the streets. A knife? I tell you from bitter experience, those are worse bloody oath they are. Just look at the sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Everyone's just so ready to jump. This jury is terrible. Pray forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hollowed chalice here in the great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Good old inspector. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Does look like an olive. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they didn't even know who she was for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately, for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running along Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long since stopped snowing at the victim. Miss Green was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence if you please. Alright, we got the case file. Maybe we can look over that really quick. Case file. A file containing an overview of the case detail about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in a hospital, yet to regain consciousness. Alright, some additional notes here. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound. Olive green female, stout build, early 20s, pavement, a Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer was Raleigh Beat. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Alright, so there's just those two. I feel like there's gonna be someone who's gonna be like, oh, there were multiple wounds. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody could have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Alright, so we got the jackknife into evidence. Let's see if we can look at it closely. We got the jackknife here. Can we open it? There we go. Wow, it doesn't even have a point to it. How do you stab someone like this with this knife? Look, there's not even a point. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruto. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? I highly doubt that. That'd be very odd. Oh dear, I hope not. I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Yeah, something's up with this blade. Missing. Oh, what was that? I inspected something. Oh, I just closed it again. Alright, well, that's it for looking at that. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine. Oh goodness, that was very harsh. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, we are looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim. Oh god, I'm getting my voices mixed up with these two. I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshop, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes! If theft ingredients had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way. Objection! What? He's throwing his chalice, throwing his bottles? My goodness. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed banquet, some word. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Alright, so we got a statement to look at now. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was a slightly unusual light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books that he just bought. He was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found that bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord, I have a photograph here of the scene crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, wow. Oh yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take the photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Alright, so we got the crime scene photos, and let's look at it first. Alright, crime scene photo. A photograph of the scene taken by police after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust in the victim's back. Alright, so there's the knife. I don't think I can examine anything specifically. It's just a magnifying glass here. Can I see anything specific anywhere? Or is this magnifying glass just for funsies? You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruto? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat. She was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of the stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, and as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodging. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's that does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there was nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. Fact that the accused concedes. It seems the cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Alright, it's time for cross-examination of the inspector. But this is where we're going to stop this part here. So, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. And until then, I will see you all later. Goodbye.